Joris, thank you for being here. It's a pleasure to spend some time with you and get to ask you some questions today.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to be here, and thank you for the invite. Yeah, cool.
So let's start from the very beginning. And you come from Belgium. What is something that inspires you from the country you come from?
I come from a very small place, and Belgium is like a very small country. But what's really cool there is that you can travel from city to city. In one night, you can do a club there and a club there, and you can. I mean, it's almost as if you can do all this by car in one night, and like to do this in Berlin, for example, you would do that over the city with the S-Bahn or with a taxi, but we can travel across the country like this.
Wow.
So, and every city has its own flair, of course. Every city is different, and the thing that it's so small and cozy kind of makes also like very interesting to meet other people there.
Yeah. So when you moved to Berlin now some years ago, like 2013, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm pretty sure like music was one of the main reasons why you moved.
It was the
reason.
Yeah. Not one.
What's one thing that you didn't expect about Berlin that you have learned or you've experienced in the city when you came here?
I guess I didn't expect it would be so hard also to come here. You kind of enter the city, I would say maybe like thinking a bit like, okay, this will happen, or you go to the epicenter, things will happen. And then it turns out it's like super, super hard because there's so many DJs also.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like nobody needs an extra DJ here, and you kind of like arrive very naive. And maybe like if you would have said like the whole process would be so hard, you maybe would not go. But that's the cool thing also, to be naive and like thinking like a child a bit, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go there where it happens and see what happens. And once you go through it, it's very cool also.
Yeah, it's a beautiful city. So before you moved to Berlin officially, what was your dream in your mind before you moved to Berlin in terms of like DJing and making it?
Yeah, my dream was always like to make a living out of music and producing and playing music.
Yeah.
The thing that I do now, so it's still like was chasing that dream, and I figured always like it's better to be in a place where a lot of things happen and figure your way into this business, work in the industry. Because that one downside of a country like Belgium is there's not really like a music industry. Like you have not companies like Ableton of Native Instruments, all these things, they're all here, and you have like or London or Berlin, which has like this where there's a lot of focus on the music industry. So I figured, let's go in that direction and see if I can figure my way into this.
Just a quick word before we go back to the interview. Thank you so much for watching or listening to the podcast. I'm Joseph, and this is the HoS Sound Studio. If you enjoy this content, please consider liking and commenting on this very episode, and also following us on the platform where you listen to or you watch the podcast, but also follow us on social media. And if you like this guest, consider checking their masterclass on our website. See in the description, there is a link that directly takes you there with also discount code. Once again, thanks so much for watching and listening to the podcast. We love what we do. I hope to see you soon on a dance floor. Yeah. And there's a beautiful story that I also read online. You're really connected to Watergate, but you started there as an audio technician. That was one of your first jobs when you arrived here.
Yes, yeah.
And I've read in another interview from some time ago that you say that eventually you took some courage, you asked them to play.
Yeah.
How was the story? Can you tell us more about how did it go?
Well, yeah, of course. Like it actually went through one colleague that was doing parties there, promoting parties there, and I was also talking to the bookers like, hey, I want to play. It was clear that I wanted to play, but kind of like it took a while, I guess. And I told Eddie, who was doing the party, like, I want to do this, and I got myself on his radar. At a certain point, like, then he booked me to play. Yeah. It was a nice party. I still remember. It's very nice.
What year was that?
Good question. Maybe like 2015 or so. Maybe 2015, 2016, I think,
Yeah. What do you think was stopping you before you asked? What was preventing you from asking?
I guess, like, not feeling secure enough. But it was clear I was already asking this, just they didn't give me the right moment. I think I had an interesting conversation about it with one of the bosses, and he was like, Stoffel was actually was saying like, you're too good of a technician. They don't want to take you away there,
shit,
you know, like they want to keep you there in that spot because you're doing a great job. So like they're scared if they're gonna put you as a DJ that they're gonna lose you, which was also the case when it happened.
I guess they cannot stop you, from pursuing your dream.
Yeah.
And another thing that when I was looking for information about your past, like I read that you started with a hip hop band before.
Well, was one of the projects that never started it. I mean, I was started music like way before that, but the hip hop project was a real cool project. I did together with a drummer from my school. I studied music like in Belgium, music school, and I joined his band, and he had this idea and like kind of more like doing stuff like the Roots. And this type of hip hop, like with real drums, real instruments, and I was like the producer and sampler guy, like I was looking for the samples, doing the MPC, and I produced the whole thing. And we did one EP only, but it was just before I left to Berlin. I think we finished that in 2012. We were doing some really cool shows in AB in Belgium and Muziekdroom, some really cool shows. Unfortunately, our singer, one of the singers, killed himself also.
Oh fuck! Yeah.
So
sorry.
That was like but the project actually just ended a bit before, I would say. When I moved to Berlin, our ways kind of like we each went separate ways. It was for me also like I come from more individual place, I would say. As a DJ and producer, you always like on your own, and you rehearse and you practice and you produce. And once the band came, it was very hard because like the band, like the guitar player was playing in 3 bands and the drummer was playing in 2 bands and the singer was doing other. And for me, it was like very hard to get the guys together to practice because I needed more time. And I was playing synths, I was scratching, I was doing MPC. So I had like 3 things to do. And it was very hard for me. I needed more rehearsal. And it became I became a bit frustrated with that we couldn't achieve that level that I really wanted to go, and so we put it on hold, and we haven't picked it up yet, but we're still friends.
That's interesting. What from that experience, from the hip hop and your experience working with a band, like what did you carry with you in your production now?
I think like approaching music in a more poppy. It's a dirty word kind of, but like to infuse things more with pop, and I think now when I compare for me, arrange was a big thing to start arranging in a pop way and to analyze music that comes from that direction, and I took that also with me to specific musical projects that I did in later. I feel now again. There's a shift happening when you also like analyze arrangement. So there's a shift happening where it crossover again, like a lot of pop gets infused into house and techno music in general. But working with vocals and adding that pop layer too.
It's such a fascinating part of what we do as producers for me. Can we go deeper into the arrangement? For example, what do you think is for your type of music right now? So club-oriented tracks for people to dance and electronic music, non-pop, but you say there is some influence from the way pop structures the tracks, that influence also your way of thinking about a track. How does that translate into your tracks right now?
I definitely feel maybe like platforms like Instagram or TikTok also contribute to that arrangement gets way more shorter. It's all a bit more like the 7-8 minute tracks like of 15 years ago. It's maybe they don't feel like waiting that long anymore for the drop or whatever. I feel I also move towards a much faster range, like also looping, of course. Like technology is something like you can loop in and out, and you don't need like 16 bars of drums.
Intro,
if you have 4, for example, you can loop it. But like all these kind of things I definitely feel, yeah, it's a big thing. Like the faster arrange, the music also became faster, and you have back to trance and the stuff. But the arrangements also definitely became faster. Yeah.
When you say faster, this is like time, for example, that goes from start of the track, the intro gets shorter if at all there is an intro.
Yeah.
You go immediately into something that is a break, or you go closer to the drop, right?
Yeah, and I'm right now also like try to experiment like with less big. I like big drops, and it's something that I do like. But I'm also trying to experiment with less bigger drops, but making it more like a bouncy. I call it like a bouncy arrange where you have like a small drop here, bam, getting back into it, then groove a bit more, then going to a bit bigger break, but never go to like a moment where you completely stop the track. Rather keep that pace going. You take a break from the constant kicks, but like and kind of like build up.
Yeah, I use the groove of melody to actually have tension that builds up in the break, whatever precedes the drop. The drop. Yeah. Is that something that comes natural to you because you pay attention to it now, or you had to kind of develop it as a skill to create a good arrangement?
I don't know. I think it develops kind of naturally because I'm also like as a DJ playing a lot, and then it feels. I feel on the dance floor like this longer range. It's more difficult for people to get into it. It's like they don't have this the patience anymore maybe for it. I guess it's a younger crowd. I don't want to call it like bad, but it's a different crowd, and maybe they're not there like to get 5 minutes into a tunnel to get this explosion after 6 or something like this. It's more like keeping things fresh, and I felt that with tracks where things are moving faster, that this is like kind of a natural, it flows better maybe. And yeah, like when I think in hindsight, it must have influenced me in that way because I kind of changed also the way I approach arrangement.
Yeah. So club is the orientation, so you want to make something that works for the club right now. Therefore, your arrangement changes to make it work on the dance floor, right?
Yeah.
So you think about it from the perspective of a DJ, yourself or someone else who is playing the track. How do you make this track very playable by a DJ?
A playable track is also a track that gets played a lot, or like I don't like tracks where you have like very difficult to mix. So for rather, if some really cool tracks are very difficult to mix, but then they're also not being mixed that a lot. So like kind of like if you go for a drum intro and outro, that's something that will always work.
Yeah.
And try to like keep the groove. If it's a groovy track, then keep that groove kind of like pretty fast into it so that you can orient to it, so not like a big groove thing jumps in like suddenly all your hi-hats come in after 8 bars and then there's like a big drop or like in this mix already. So kind of like make a straightforward intro and like keep it even, not going uneven.
With the beats. Yeah. And you did also a masterclass with HoS Sound. You speak a lot about melodic elements, for example. Yeah. Any insights that you think make sense for someone who wants to do a track with a lot of melodic elements? Something that is important to keep in mind when to produce a good club track with melodic elements.
The melodic elements and the rhythmic elements definitely can go together. You know, like you kind of can use melodies as rhythms too, where you have like, for example, an arpeggio-like melody that's something like this, which grooves together with the bass, which is another element that jumps into the groove, and like adding that that function of the melody is an important way to see it also as a grooving element, depending, of course, like what melodies that you use, and you can make these categories of the pads and the more like open reverby synths that go like in the high notes, or like the small. It's basically like a guitar or like a rhythm guitar or like lead guitar, and it's basically a band. And keeping that thing maybe comes also from the pop, to keep that thing of a band translated into like a sort of an electronic arrange.
Tell me more about this. For example, you think about it from, when you say thinking about it from the perspective of a band, so each band member would be an instrument, a drummer, or you mentioned high synth or groove or other melodic elements. There are different instruments of a band. Do you envision that as you need to give priority to a certain element over others? All the elements need to be very cohesive or anything else?
Well, of course, every element needs to find its place, and sometimes that also implies like that one element is way more important at that moment. Something that I like to do is like if you have a rhythmical arpeggio type of element or like a melody, that you push it extra with groove, like hi-hats that go that same or like that groove together with that. So if you bring in that sound, you bring in those elements of groove like hi-hats and claps that go together with it, and you see that as one thing. So then these two elements become very important. Once you get in the higher sense, maybe this like melody becomes less important, or you get an open groove, a more open hi-hat groove, where before it's like tick 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 tick, more goes open, and like this way you can play definitely and support each other, the sounds like non-melodic sounds, to support them together with melodic sounds.
Yeah, so it seems like the elements should kind of unique
Complement each other.
Yeah, complement each other.
Yeah.
And the voices. You mentioned vocals. You worked with Robert Owens. You worked with a lot of vocalists as well. You do a lot of samples yourself.
Yeah.
How do the vocals sit in your creative process?
They become more and more important, I think. And what I love the most to work with vocals is like to work in the way that I have the vocal, and I know, for example, I have the vocal and it's in key A minor or whatever, to rebuild the song around that and use this vocal and make a new song, or like that's my personal approach that I love the most. I did also tracks where I have like somebody singing what I have in my head, but kind of like I actually just did a few sessions with a singer like this, where I just make a basic groove and I stay in a specific key. I let her sing things on a specific melody line, and the music around is not important. I'm going to use the vocals for a later project, just to use them in a project where I'm working. Okay, let's see what this brings.
Very interesting. Does it, for your personal creative process, do the lyrics and the voice tend to come first before the rest of the track?
If I have this type of voice, then I start then I start with the voice, because it kind of like the voice is the main thing in the track. I mean, if you really want to, or you have like some sort of like sample type of voice, which is like more like a small hook or something like this, then the music is maybe more in the front, but you have this like some one or two shouts or whatever. If it becomes more like a song structure, I feel that's where I start, and usually it's like bass that I add. Just like if I have the voice, I kind of have it looping. It's like a bass that I feel like, okay, what can I do like harmonically with it? So if I have the bass cadence, then I can start the melody with it and see where is it even placed, because I don't want to put my melody too much where this word is being said or whatever. Yeah,
very interesting. Things that someone, when they're recording a vocal, for example, they're working with someone else who's a singer or someone who provides their voice, what do you think they should be really pay attention to when it's a clap track, in terms of like how you balance the vocals with the rest of the track? How do you blend them in, effects?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's still an ongoing process, and I think sometimes it's also about like experimenting and feeling where that particular track. Obviously, if you go for a club arrange, the drums need to always be like, it's not as poppy mixed, I would say, for on radio tracks, where like the whole backing track is kind of like mixed in a way that the vocals are so big in that track. I personally don't do that, although it's good to have them in a way that is really understandable, and that when they are there, that they form like the basis or the main thing that you like build up to something where you have like, okay, this is like that element that is, take it out and your track collapses. That's kind of a good way to think of it, like take it out and the track collapses.
So it has to be like very crucial, like a pillar of the structure.
Yeah, a pillar. Yeah.
Yeah. And in that sense, compression, do you compress the input signal before any effect, or you?
Well, if I record myself, sometimes I also work with samples or like you take an a cappella or whatever. But actually, I don't pre-compress. No, I keep it completely raw, and and I experiment with it. Like yeah, like I was just the other day experimenting with the ozone plugs, which are really good for the nectar. The nectar is really good. Like you do also an AI analysis, you can see where are the points and what is important, and it gives you already like a very clear view, and then you can add on, and it's a super good plugin. Yeah,
Nectar by
Nectar.
Ozone.
Yeah.
Isotope, yeah.
Yeah. I also use it to add harmonies to it. And I was working with this singer and we were singing the harmonies, and I said like, wait, like let me try on something on the regular voice and let me see how that sounds. And she's like, okay, sounds much better than my harmonies.
Amazing.
I mean, I have to also say she was not a professional singer.
Sure.
Because like professional singers will also give you like different, but for the use that we had and it was very, very cool what you can do, and you can immediately have like a very crisp and clear sounding voice, and from there on you can tweak everything, of course.
Yeah. So experimentation seems to be very important for you, and then you have you have basic let's say principles where you want the voice, if it's the core element, to always be the core element. Yeah. And then you have tools you use, for example, the Nectar that can help you do harmonization.
For sure. For compression, I'm not like I'm not that used to work. I've been working a lot with vocals, but I'm not like, I always see like vocals. The real pros are people like that work in pop, and they have like they would like compress every syllable, and they would do this whole process much differently than me. And I always see myself kind of like as an amateur when I work with the vocals. So experimentation is definitely like a very important part of it. But you also learn every time when with experimentation you learn, of course. So
yeah, for sure. How does your creative process of making a new track look like today, and how has that changed over time? Because now you've been producing for many years.
Yeah, I've been producing for almost 30 years now.
30?
30.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I think I started making music in 96 or something.
Wow.
So 97, yeah.
Man.
So the process changed a lot, and then again also not. Right now, I like maybe like 3-4 years ago, I would always start with melody, and then adding harmony to it, and then the drums were the last part actually. Now, lately, I started focusing more on starting with drums again. It was something that I did before too. Like usually it was like, okay, you start with the drums, and more I tend to see myself doing drums again, like start with the drums again, and because I feel the music is a bit more groove oriented. Like I was doing when I was doing a lot of this 80 arpeggio music, it's more straight. And I always heard kind of like melody, so you kind of go into that mode and you play like a small arpeggio-like melody, and you add bass, and that was like the way I did it before. And now I feel the groove becomes like where you like experiment more with different types of shuffle and different grooves from MPC or whatever, and I can go really deep into like getting that clap, like just like putting it away from the line or like from the quantization, just the right point, and then it becomes groove oriented. So then the drum sounds are in front.
Yeah,
and
so
bass, drum and bass, I would say.
Yeah, so interesting. And in terms of what inspires you, and how do you, let's say, keep having inspiration in your life? Do you have rituals? Do you have things you do or things you don't do to make sure that you keep being inspired?
I keep on changing these rituals also. Like when I was like, I got lots of inspiration from other art forms, like movies, movies, when I was doing a lot of 80s music. I mean, I'm an 80s child, so it's very natural, and you grow up with that music. So a lot of movies that inspired me, not only the music of the movies, but also scenes of the movies. And
Yes.
right now, what I also do is I'm listening cross genre stuff. Like I love soul or hip hop or whatever, and I just like when I'm driving on my bike, I put on a playlist or like one track and do the Spotify radio on it, and I try to, even music that I don't really like, because sometimes you're driving the bike and it pops up a track you don't really like, but it's like looking for what is cool in this track, and what could I even take from this track that I maybe even not like or like, and it's really interesting how that shifts also, because the other day I was also trying to get inspired to write vocals, and then I was really zooming in like on what they were saying. So it's like, oh yeah, that's a cool hook. Maybe I can borrow that hook, create something new with it, and the same way it goes, like, that groove is cool from that 70s track, speed it up, and maybe let's see what happens. And I kind of like, with a track inspires me, I save it and I have my inspiration list, and it's getting big now. Now I need to go back through my inspiration list to go and like, what was actually this track? Oh yeah, that was the drum, super cool, or there was a cool voice, or there's something I can sample, and yeah, that kind of inspires me. One other thing that inspires me too is like actually DJing. So
yeah,
it's a
when you're
classic
performing.
thing.
Yeah. For sure, because then it becomes, when you go back to the studio, you think about that experience, or
and you like, if you play music that you love and you see the reaction and colleagues that are really gifted, like it's cool, like you get inspired by everything that you hear around you. Like it's nice. It's nice.
Yeah, it is. And you mentioned cycling, and I've read in another interview that a lot of your ideas came when you were cycling.
Yeah, funny enough, I have it's so strange. Sometimes I have like really bad days in the studio. I jump on my bike and I bike home, and up pops an idea, and then I think like, why wasn't I not thinking at this before? And then I need to stop and sing the idea in the phone or something like this. But it definitely, a lot of things happen on the bike, and that's why I also decide, like, because I'm always listening to stuff, podcasts, or now I switched back to music, because like, always on the bike, and I figured that's the place where I get inspired. So like, it's good. It's good to do that.
Well, it's good that you found it. You found your own way to get inspired.
Yeah, I think I've heard it also somewhere that it also has to do with brain chemistry. Something when you do sport, or even like hot showers or cold showers, or specifically, I'm not sure, but something brain chemistry happens when you do sports or stuff. So you get the inspiration flows better or something.
Yeah, I mean, it does for you, certainly, right? So that's perfect.
Yeah.
And is there, for example, when you think about what you feel with your music or with playing music, are there recurring feelings, emotions that come up when you are performing, let's say?
It's always nice to see your own music perform well, just as it's not as nice when it doesn't perform well. So then you kind of have like one feeling that keeps on coming up, and like it's somewhat negative somehow. I always see my own music kind of like inferior to some other things. Then I think like, this mix is so good of that track, and then I think in mine, and then if the mix is then not good, it gives me a very bad feeling. That again, like, if the mix falls in its place and I'm finally happy with it, and I hear it on a big sound system, and you transmit that thing, well, then it's also, of course, like a very beautiful sensation, of course.
Yeah, I have a question about this. Like, how do you manage these negative thoughts that come into your mind when...
It's not always easy, I guess. I guess for every artist, it's like the...
Self-doubt, or would you call it doubting yourself?
Yeah, like kind of like the imposter syndrome type of thing.
Yeah.
Or I don't know what it is, but sometimes I can go home and I compare my music with some other music, and I think like then suddenly everything I do is bad. and I just hate everything that I do. And it's like it's crazy how you can like go from like, okay, this is something I made and was so into it, and then suddenly I hate it because of some small things, you know.
Yeah.
And then I need to kind of like have time to recalibrate that. I guess I need to vent to my girlfriend. She needs to calm me then a bit, like, because she
She knows now. It's like...
she knows, yeah. But there's also not much to do.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way. I didn't find like a secret way to manage that. I need to go through this, and sometimes I really, it's so strange. And then something as little as a mix, or like a clap is too loud, or like the bass doesn't sound like that track, or that can like really put me off and like put me like, fuck, this is a shit track, and, that, and it's so stupid, and it's so stupid, and then you doubt, and then you take that across the whole line, which is like also stupid.
Yeah, so interesting. So when you are in that situation, in the specific moment, do you realize, oh shit, this happened to me another 100 times before?
I guess not.
Unfortunately,
Unfortunately, not.
Yeah.
I realize it right now, but when that moment comes, it's like, again, like you're like, could throw my laptop out of the window kind of thing, you know, like,
like,
what am I doing? I'm wasting my time. Let's throw all the sins out. Let's
I'll do something else.
Let's search a new career. Fuck it. But yeah, it's like, it's this heavy for me.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really like, I don't understand where it comes from. And I guess like everybody has it. You know? I don't think I'm unique in that way, but it's very real, and when it's there, I need to go through it, and it's also like in moments when I'm in a studio and I'm really, I have times when I manage it better, but in the studio when I'm there and I'm not creative at all, and this happens, of course, it's like the worst thing ever, you know. And then instead of like calming down and say, okay, it's not happening today, keep on pushing it, and then sometimes you make something. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. But yeah, you have to go through it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like you say, it's a very normal thing. Like a lot of artists are the same, right? Yeah. Is because you said your girlfriend helps you and knows about it, is she also an artist of some kind?
Well, she works in movie, so she's not like making music, but I do consider her as an artist, because she's always working with artists, and I guess like the way that the reason also why we connect is maybe also because like I'm an artist, and she got drawn to that maybe. She always plays music herself too, like a piano, but never in a way like professionally or she did play in bands, and like she's great in that way, supporting and she's an artist too. I would say
she understands also the struggle
for sure. She's very familiar with the field.
And when I wanted to ask another question, like now you've been producing for 30 years and you've released a lot, you played a lot, you played festivals, clubs, you've done a lot in your musical path. Have you found your musical voice? Do you feel like the music you make now is free, is authentic, is you?
Well, it changes every few years, or like every few years. I felt like I had a very, very strong direction maybe a few years ago. Then I felt last year a bit like, where do I want to go? Because I feel there's many things that I really like, and you know, like going a bit faster, or I like also going a bit slower. I like more this, I like more that, and it feels like it's an ongoing process, and this musical voice over the last 30 years has changed and took so many routes that I guess this is my route, is not just one thing. I admire artists that just do like one thing, and where you feel like this is like one thing, even after 20 years, you can still say this is one techno track, or like they do one techno sound, and I don't have that. And I don't know if that's good or bad. You know, sometimes I think it's bad. Sometimes it's bad, like, because like, but on the other hand, like, this is also kind of me. I like to go take things broader spectrum, and I like to zoom out rather than to zoom in too heavy, and I don't know. Maybe that's my musical voice. Maybe
Yeah.
I just have to accept that that's the way it goes for me also.
Yeah, in the end, it's like, yeah, you wouldn't be authentic if you force yourself to stick into one thing forever, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to see what's happening, and I feel the scene is very trend-based these days. So it's like very short trends, and you know, you cannot jump on every trend, but you can look at them and see, like, is this maybe, are there elements that I can use? I was listening to, actually funny, I was yesterday listening to a set. I will maybe not mention the name, but I really did not like it so much at first, or like I didn't really like it. But I was really listening. Okay, this is like kind of a trend I completely missed, and is there something that I can take from it maybe? And this is kind of going back to this thing where I say, like, listening to tracks that I don't like, or to get inspired, and maybe like, why is this very popular, and what can I take from it? And do I even want to take something from it? So it's keeping your eyes open, I feel like, and see where this musical voice brings me.
Yeah. What's your definition of success right now? And has it changed over time since you started with music?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think the definition of success sometimes gets spoiled, because the definition of success is also like achieving things on your own terms, and having fun, and working on something that you really love, or doing the thing that you really love. But sometimes success also blends in a way like, hey, you don't make enough money, so that's not enough success. And it's the culture is a very like, how do you say, like the elbow culture, you know, like getting your way through, and look here, and flying my own jet, or flying my private jet, this type of thing. And sometimes you get like troubled with, this is success, which is not necessarily true, you know, because on that level, maybe first of all, is how much of this success stories are true, and like you get like influenced in a wrong way. So right now, it's like being successful is like being happy with what you do. I guess that would be the thing. But sometimes the little monster on my would say that it's not that.
How do you stay focused on the right things for you, like being happy, doing music, doing things on your own time, even when times are tough, right? You might have like a couple of months where things are not working out, or you perceive them as not working out. How do you stay focused on, okay, I know this will pass, you know, and I will make it?
That's a really good question, and it's hard, because you need to pass through it. And how do I stay focused? I think it's also to do, like we were talking about it earlier, off the outside of the interview, like detoxing, and not drinking a lot. Sport is definitely something that has become like a pillar for those moments, especially for those moments where you start to break yourself down, and you're like not happy with wherever it goes, or the studio day was bad, and like this refuels that, and it keeps me awake also, because sitting and doing nothing, that is the worst thing ever. So keep on going, that's one. Keep on going, and even if times are hard, blend it out and keep on going. The sport is one, the detox, and now I have, of course, an extra influence, which is the baby.
Congratulations again.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, it seems like it's a matter of, like, I always say this too when I speak with my friends as well, and like for me the analogy is like having a table with only one leg. If the leg is shaking, like, you're fucked, because it's like if you have like 7 legs that are all important, and in some ways some of them are more important in the moment, like your daughter probably right now, like even if one of them is like shaking or not so stable. You still have others, so your table is still pretty flat and good.
Yeah. That's a nice way to putting it. Yeah.
Do you feel sport? You were talking before also like about cold showers and
Cold shower, yeah. I love the cold Wim Hof stuff. Yeah.
Big fan too.
Yeah.
And you, in a previous interview, you mentioned meditation as well, like mindful practices have helped you neutralize or shield yourself from negative thoughts, or whenever they come, at least you navigate them better.
Yeah, I think I navigate them better. Like, funny enough, like, because I love meditation. I'm really into it. But when the baby came, it just dropped suddenly. So I need to clear enough. I need to clear more room for it again. But it definitely helped me. And I had a difficult year searching for my sound last year. And this definitely helped in terms of staying a bit more grounded. It's,
Yeah. What piece of advice are you tired of hearing right now? Things that you hear that never work for you.
That's a good one. I don't know. I need to think that a bit longer through, maybe. Like, what piece of advice? Okay.
Different question could be, what is an uncomfortable truth of our industry that you had to accept in your music career?
Yeah, that the industry is like has no mercy, kind of, you know.
No mercy, yeah.
Yeah, the industry has no mercy, and things move at a very fast pace. So you better be on it, or like it feels sometimes like this. At least things move so fast that if you're not like on the train, you'd fall off. On the other hand, maybe it's also your own mind that makes things bigger as they are, and you need to take also a stop and breathe. But I feel things are moving so fast these days, and it's very hard to navigate that thing. You know, like I try to analyze it many times, and it feels like it goes so fast. So
yeah. And it doesn't seem to be, at least for me as well, there's one formula, one way to...
No, there's definitely not one way. Yeah. I mean, there are many things, and you have your network, you have, of course, your music. But I feel music has become like plays...
less of a priority.
Yeah. It's the social media, it's such a big impact. You have some artists that skip the whole segments of like going to smaller clubs and parties, and then they go directly to the big stages.
Yeah.
And they have a good marketing, and so that's a way. You have some people that have a good profile that works really good, that's really now very bold figures, or like very bold, colorful profiles, and that's maybe a way, or an artistic vision in any other way. There are many. Music, of course, still has some importance, luckily.
Yeah.
Less and less. But yeah.
And it's super interesting. You mentioned social media as well. I've seen a lot of like your Instagram page as well. You also produce some kind of video content that is interesting and engaging. What's your relationship with social media? What's something you enjoy about it? What's something that for you is a lot of energy?
It's definitely hate-love.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say more, it's like, I need to always get into like a sort of like, I had to push myself away a bit from social media in the end of the year, because, I didn't felt up for it. I don't have the time to create that engaging content. And if I want to go for it, I really need to put myself into this modus, sit down and really use a different part of my brain and go for that and focus on that. But it's I don't always like it. I do like once I get into it, like what I was doing, like this video with the techno Vikings and stuff, working with my friend, and we go to Berlin at night and we film and we do funny stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that was
enjoyable.
Really, it's really cool also to do, and I like this, you know, like you get some beers and you get some fun and you laugh a lot, and this is cool. But it's also like a work, and you need to it takes a lot of preparation and all these things like managing this. It does take away a lot of creative power that goes otherwise into your music. So I guess you need to kind of split moments where, okay, this is for Instagram, these moments, and now I need to free some time for studio or something like this.
Yeah. And for example, now looking, one of the videos that I've seen also in social, like from the past, is your experience in playing in Brazil. I think you debuted there around 2021.
Yeah.
It seemed to be a very happy moment for you, and
Yeah.
an incredible experience. What was special about it?
Well, it was still insane. Still to this day,
Yeah.
like it was like, it was the first time I went to Brazil, and the booker was saying, yeah, you will see, it's gonna be really cool. So like, and I arrived there and I was playing live, and I arrived there and I was with the sound check. I see the size of the place already. It was like maybe like 3,000-4,000 people venue, and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And then I got on the stage, and like the people actually knew my music. They were like having like these little banners, like BIESMANS stuff, and then it was really crazy because like they started jumping. If you maybe saw the videos, and it was playing, I was so like, whoa, blown away. And then that same day, like, so I played, I think that was like maybe 8 o'clock in the evening, was like a daytime festival type of event. And then we had to drive like 5 hours down to Passo Fundo, I think. Yeah. I came from Porto Alegre to Passo Fundo, was 5-hour drive. And was after this like intense, like adrenaline, and okay, you go 5 hours drive.
Fuck.
And we had some beers and became so tired. It was like middle of the night suddenly. We left. Yeah, it was like maybe 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock at night, and I was already too late at the gig. And they bring me to this club, and I had to play also live. So I was like, wow, man. And I said, I accepted things that would be like, okay, we had this huge peak gig, and that will be the gig of the day. I need to be grateful. This probably will not be that gig anymore. And I remember like getting into the club, and we didn't go through the front entrance, so I never saw the club. So I go through the back entrance, and they follow me. Okay, so I follow this person, and then we go up some stairs, and then suddenly I didn't even realize I go the stairs up, and suddenly I'm in the booth. I'm literally in the booth, and the people they see me, and suddenly everybody starts to scream, and it was like a club, like kind of like Berghain type of place, like 1,500 people maybe or so. And it was like people just start to scream, and it was like serious, like, and this energy, it fed me so much, it gave me so much. Like I put my synthesizers in and connect, and then like the first track, people just go insane. I was like, it was very, very powerful experience.
Oh yeah, I bet. And I can tell from the way you talk about it, it's super powerful. It left a mark on you.
I ended up like playing my live set, and then playing back to back with DJIng with the DJ until like 9 o'clock in the morning. So this was like, I did in the other gig, I also did like a live set. I played two hours of DJ set, and then like we take rest for 1 hour, traveled 5 hours, and then do the same thing again, like until 9 o'clock in the morning. It was I just got so much energy of the energy that I got from the people in the room. It was crazy. Yeah.
It's insane when I should describe it like you're playing your tracks live set, and then people are like fucking going nuts for it. It's incredible.
Yeah. That was a very, very powerful, powerful feeling.
Yeah, I can tell. How does playing live compare to DJing for you?
Like you said, of course, like playing live, you only play your own music, and sometimes I'm scared that it's a bit too much. Also, like you have like I scaled it down to 1 hour. I don't want to play like 2 hours, because I feel like 2 hours of the same artist can be also in a club context sometimes too much. So it kind of like, I approached playing live also a bit like as a DJ way, as a DJ set, because it's not like this show where you get on stage, where you're on a like electronic act or something, like a big room just comes for you. It's more like in a club contest. So like the live act is built a bit like a DJ set, only I play my synths and add drums and stuff, so I keep it really like fresh and add that live touch to it, which was really important for me to play synths rather than like, I mean, to turn knobs is nice and everything and the effects, but I wanted to visually give the people also there is something going on. He's playing an instrument.
And it's something that like you studied music, right? You mentioned before.
Yeah.
So for you, it comes natural also to think about it in that way. So performance for you is also like notes being executed.
Yeah, although I'm not a classical trained pianist or stuff like this. I started playing like really on a late age, so I never really mastered. Like I know my scales, and I can improvise and I can play a bit, but I'm not like an amazing keyboard player. But I still felt like, like when even now that I play live, some people say like, "Hey, it was a nice DJ set." No, it was a live set. But I even like I noticed like if you don't put the synth like up, like I put it on stands, so like if you're behind the DJ booth, that people can really see like I'm really up like this, like
they need to see you pressing the keys.
Because if you're like this and you're playing, like you're not. It's not exaggerated enough. People really need to see that there is like a synthesizer there. Yeah. And even then, it's not clear that they will see that it's live. But that was really important for me, at least to give the people a live element to it.
Yeah. And I think that there's a beauty, like sometimes just people don't realize, they don't distinguish, and that's okay. But it's a beauty of like seeing someone executing the music live. It's mind-blowing. It's imperfect, but so beautiful because that moment will never happen again,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. And sometimes you play some mistakes, which is also fine. And, at least they see that it's live then.
Have you ever been in a very weird, crazy, challenging situation while DJing or performing live?
Yeah, for sure. for sure. I remember on one, so I had to play live somewhere in the Netherlands, and so I have the rider, and they confirmed the rider, and I'm there, and I arrive there, and I'm like, okay, so in my rider I have like a MIDI keyboard, 49 keys, and I arrived there, and the guy is like, yeah, we have everything ready for you, and first of all, the mixer was already shit, but then I asked him, so where's the keyboard? So, and he comes with two keyboards, like two small ones. He said, like, now you have more than 60 keys even.
No, I love it.
Like, I cannot attach them like this, It's like it's like you bring me two of these small. It doesn't work like this. He was just counting the keys like this. So and then on top of that, it was such old stuff that just didn't work. It was like really old stuff. So then, I was like kind of like really bad situation, like how am I gonna survive, because without the synth, like it's really not working. And well, he ended up he went to buy a keyboard, and we managed to do it, but still it was like the conditions were unfortunately really poor, and that made me also realize like it's very difficult, and that you really need to be very, very, very clear about some things. Like this is absolutely a no-go, because for the performance that I bring is the thing that the people will remember, not that this maybe guy had great intentions but didn't came through, but like it's the people see that my performance is shit if I'm going through something like this.
It's for sure, it's a shame, right? It would be a pity that you travel, you prepare everything, and then like because you don't have the right, like you don't have a keyboard, essentially. You can't really perform.
Made me very insecure. Like when I started touring, like I decided also like to take more and more stuff myself. But it means also you cannot, and it means also you had to scale down a bit in order for me to be able to take these things. That like even in a serious situation, I still need to be able to. I have even a backup plan that I don't need to play synth at all. If something like, I mean, again, it's the performance for the people, and if suddenly like all my synth lines are missing in my tracks, it's stupid, It's kind of like
it's quite fundamental of your.
It's kind of the fundamental thing. So I did like an absolute plan B, and I have a plan C, and in case that things like this happen, which luckily didn't happen anymore, but it's good to be prepared.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can never control so much, but in the end,
yeah, and sometimes like sometimes, it's something falls here. No, sometimes it's also like really hard to get specific gear, but I try to scale it down to get like really the basic stuff and
and to make it work,
to not be surprised and not get into like strange situations.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your releases and your productions. I think I've come across your music maybe I would say a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I still remember it was in Panorama Bar. I entered Panorama Bar, and Pablo Bots is playing your remix of Schmidt's Love Games.
Yeah, the Love Games.
Love Games. Ah, what a beautiful track.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, I love it. It was also like a coincidental moment. I think I was falling in love, like for real. And like I have this track, I'm like, no way, I need to find it. And then I'm looking for it. I eventually Shazam it and find it. It's like BIESMANS. And then I think go on Spotify radio, start listening to more of your tracks. And then it eventually was like, okay, I really liked your music. And you released on a lot of labels, Correspondent, Turbo. You released, of course, on Watergate. A lot of like really important labels, and as well. Is there any of your tracks you feel particularly connected to, and why?
They're all kind of like little babies, but there is, if I think of like just one off the top of my head, there is actually a track that I did years ago on the label from the guys from Dusky, 17 Steps, and the track is called After All These Years. And I feel really connected to this because it was this moment, like I just bought the Moog Grandmother. I think it's maybe the first track that I make with the Moog Grandmother. And it's just like I put this arpeggio and it was sounding so fat. And this track fell together. And it was like, I called it After All These Years because it was like, after all these years of making music, I still feel that same rush, that same connection, like that I feel like, wow, this is like the best I've ever made kind of vibe in that moment condensed and this feeling where you're like, oh, and you play it and play the Uno on top and it's like, yes, that's exactly that melody. And this connection is like, after all these years, still so profound. And funny enough, it flopped completely. No,
the track itself?
It didn't reach many people, but it reached one person. Okay. And it reached Laurent Garnier very, very profound. He even wrote it in his book. Like he has this book where he's talking about the track where he played it on a gig and I, later on, a few years later, I went to play with him in Watergate. And he played also the track, and he was like, for me, this track has everything. He says, like, this is like the track for me, you know. And he played like that night. He played maybe 3 or 4 tracks with me, and I was like really like wow. And when I heard him playing it, you know, and seeing the people, and then I was like, I never could understand that it never reached more people, you know.
So what's the track again?
After All These Years?
After All These Years. That's on the 717, the Dusky's label.
Yeah. It's kind of like more techno track.
I'll check it out.
I mean, it's a bit more techno than, it's still very melodic, like all my stuff.
Yeah. And
it has like the 80s touch with the Uno, but it sounds way more rough. I need to make another one like this maybe again. Maybe now is the moment
Timing
to bring that
right.
again, I guess.
Bring it back. That's so interesting. So for you were really connected to the way you made the track itself, Laurent Garnier, the story. It didn't have a lot of resonance with people. Did you have other examples, the opposite? So you thought the track was going to be nothing special, and then people were like, wow.
Yeah, definitely. I had also, I mean, it's like kind of magic what happens with music when you kind of let it go, you know? Like some music you have so high expectations, and then it just like goes completely the other way. I remember I did a remix once, this remix of Ciao. I was really not like, I mean, I always like to do something where I'm behind. I'm never gonna put some music out where I say like, okay, this is not what I want to do. But I was never expecting like that it would reach so many people, and it started like, I think think it even landed on 1 or 2 or something, that it like in the indie dance charts. So I was like, huh?
What?
Like, I was really not expecting that.
Yeah.
And like it ended up also in like, I saw it like in playlists from people where I was like really like, okay, crazy, like that they even play this stuff. And yeah, was very surprised by it.
You ended up, so it was released by a label or?
Yeah, it wasn't Exploited.
Exploited, okay.
Yeah, it was a remix for Enduro Disco. Ciao. Enduro Disco,
ciao.
ciao. And I had even people booking me for this track because they were doing like this, like more Italo influenced party, and they were like, please, your last track, please ciao, please ciao is last track, you know. Like, okay, makes sense actually. Okay, I'm not such a fan of the request, but as the last track, and ciao, okay, it makes sense.
Yeah. Wow, that's so interesting. Yeah. So you, when you made the track, you released it, you thought, okay, it's a cool track, but like, it doesn't make you crazy, right? It wasn't your,
Yeah. Like, I still loved, you know, like, still loved it, but I was not expecting that it would be played by so many people, or
yeah,
you know, I try to minimize all expectations because you try to, but you don't always succeed in it. You know, like sometimes you think like this is the shit, and like just now, I just last year actually I made 2 tracks where I was thinking like, you know, I'm gonna sign them immediately. I'm gonna sign. These are like, I love them so much. Nobody wants to have them.
So
literally nobody. I've been sending them like for months and months on end, and nobody is interested in them. If I play them, they work great, but nobody wants to have them. And I'm like, why is that? Like, you know, I feel so connected to something like this. I feel like this is like, bam, oh, this track has everything for me. And then nobody wants it. I don't understand sometimes. That's what I mean. It's kind of like music works in some kind of like magical sphere.
Yeah.
Once you put it out there, out of your hands, the life it leads, it's like, it's random, it feels.
Yeah. I mean, nobody can predict the future, and it's random. So many factors that can play a role in whether the track gets played, listened, appreciated or not. And what's the conclusion for you after that? So now you have these 2 tracks, you feel very connected. Are you holding on to them, and maybe you will release them in the future? You thinking to self-release them, or you're parking them for?
I for sure want to release them. If nobody else wants to do it, I will. I mean,
self-release.
I have also my label, and I want to release good music on it. So I think I'm gonna go with that route. But I was so surprised that maybe, you know, like maybe it's not also about that the music is not good. It's often a thing that it's not fitting, and I feel that it's maybe not like this hype thing what is right now working for that label and that, and you aim for specific labels. Maybe I'm looking on the wrong places, but all the places that I kind of look for, like, they turned it down. So it's, what do? Or you look a bit further, or I think I'm going to release these myself on the label.
Yeah.
And,
when you got rejections, did you ask for feedback to understand why they say no?
No. Not really. It's like, I understand, like, you know, that if it's not working for them at that moment, that's clear. Then it's like, just simple, because they're not focusing on that sound.
Yeah.
And you know, if you get some people are a bit more easy with feedback. Some just like, if you don't hear back from them, you know that it's a no.
Sure.
So, I mean, this is how the label business works also. So.
Yeah. I recently changed my mind on this because a friend, and actually another guest that we just interviewed, so a friend who is not into music was like, have you asked for feedback? And I said, fuck no, I never ask. And she said, okay, but you have a good relationship with this person you send the tracks to. They say no because, you know, not now. Why don't you ask for feedback? Maybe they will never reply. Maybe they will tell you.
Yeah, maybe it is. Yeah, sometimes I mean, I guess sometimes they say, hey, this is just not fitting right now for us. And I guess you will not get more feedback out of that.
Yeah.
But it's true. Maybe like, if it would be cool to know what was the trigger for them not to sign or to take it sometimes, I guess.
I guess, I don't know.
But on the other hand, maybe like, you're going to go too specific. I'm not that good, I guess, like at going really specific. Maybe it's a good skill that I need to like work a bit more, that you say like, okay, I'm going to work for something for that label. But then I feel it's also not really
No.
my
No.
sound or myself anymore if you're going to make too much compromise, you know?
Yeah. No, for sure. I was more thinking from the perspective of understanding, the reason why that specific track might be a great track. And then, as you said before, maybe it's exactly as you said, but you don't know until you ask. But
Yeah. Maybe I should try.
And what's one belief you had to let go to feel free after? Can be anything you changed your mind on recently, or like a big idea or belief in your life.
So what you mean, like in this particular track search, or
No, more general about music or about life.
one idea that I had to let go of is, well, I think right now, like with my baby coming, or like that my baby came, is that things are the same. Like kind of the belief that you are as fast and as flexible as you were before is something you completely have to change completely. You try to see it like, no, but I can do some specific thing, but it's no. Also the belief of good sleep is also no, but I noticed this because it's like it's such a basic thing, and it's like something big as this changes your perspective on many things, and you kind of hold on to it, and people are telling you, but you still think you can manage maybe, or try to hold, but you just need to let that go, because you need
big life change. Priorities
the biggest.
Going toward the wrap up, I'll ask you some final questions. We can feel free to answer as fast as they come to your mind. Any fresh sounds, artists, any artists that are particularly inspiring for you at the moment that, for example, we should look into and consider interviewing or inviting for masterclasses?
Well, I don't know if there are in Berlin, but I love the guys of the Trip. I don't know. They're from London. You were in...
Yeah, I was in London before. Yeah.
The Trip. I really love what they're doing right now. There's like
check them out.
Nice house. I love this type of sound these days, and nice and groovy house. If there's one act I would say like that I really love, it's like these guys. The Trip. It's two guys, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. I'll check them out.
Yeah.
And do you know what drives you in life?
Definitely music is one of them, but like family is a really new one that came to it. So like when in the current light of the events that happened to me 6 weeks ago, there's more things that drive me now, and that I guess family and my little baby girl is definitely new catalyst.
A big one. What is a part of your personality that you really love, and what is another part that you might want to change?
Well, I guess something that I really love is that I don't give up fast. I'm very persistent, and I can work really hard for my thing. Something that I maybe don't like as much is like like if you're ambitious, it can also work against you because you're never satisfied. So it's like maybe something like that that prevents me from being truly happy, is that I always want more, or that you always feel it's not enough, or that like this drive also, it's kind of the knife that cuts you both ways. So but I guess one will not go without the other, so it's like
you need to have both. What's something that people tend to get wrong about you? They might have a misconception or misjudgment.
I don't know, maybe that I only play 80s sounds. I get this, like, and like I still get a lot of promos, and people like, I noticed this, like, this is really up your alley. Yeah, maybe like 4 years ago or 3 years ago, and then I think this is not the only stuff that I play, and maybe that's like I noticed this, like maybe it's also the perception. People still perceive me for that kind of sound, which is maybe
for the releases, you think, or the sets that you played in the past.
I guess they connect the releases in the past. I guess they were more successful, or like that. There's kind of like a gap where I didn't do that much, like, and then you get perceived from the earlier work that was the most successful, I guess.
Yeah. Very interesting. And talking about the music, what is a track that would be your closing track for the rest of your life, if you can choose one at the moment?
Closing track.
Closing track, yeah.
For myself or
for yourself?
A track of myself also, or
it could be of yourself or someone else that you would use to close a set.
I actually just last Friday I closed the set with a wonderful song, which maybe I'm gonna go for that, not to take something of myself, but like the one of Joy Orbison. Damn it, Joy Orbison.
With Over Mono or Joy Orbison only?
No. It's an old Joy Orbison track. I see the vinyl in front of me with the blue sticker on it. Ladywell.
Okay.
Ladywell.
It's
a very tranquil. It's not heavy, you know. Like it's very smooth, and he sampled. I don't know where he sampled the voice, but it's such a good track. And I was playing back to back with Johannes on Friday, and he was also like, "Yeah, this fits the mood really. Like brings you out. It still keeps you going, but it's like brings you off like a small cloud and puts you back on."
Yeah, perfect. Soft landing.
Yes, soft landing, no crash landing. Sometimes a crash landing can be also like good for the adrenaline, but this is like such a gentle, soft landing that you're like, you know. Yeah.
Very cool. I need to check it out. I don't know this track.
Yeah, it's super cool track. I discovered that they right now also are properly digitalized, and because I only had the vinyl for many years, so it was when I stopped playing vinyl, or I stopped playing vinyl on gigs at least, or taking it with me. This kind of track also like fell a bit out of, and now I discovered that it was digitalized in the good version, because before it was just vinyl only. So
Okay.
Check it out.
I'll check it out for sure.
Yeah.
Can you sing aloud one of your latest tracks? One of your own tracks?
If I can sing?
Yeah.
But you've been twisting the truth to me. That's what is actually coming at the end of this month, end of January, 31st of January. That's the first EP of the year. It's going to come on Watergate. I will send you.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Other projects that you are particularly excited about for 2025?
Yeah, many. I mean, I'm excited about the whole year. I want to get music out again, like the whole music that I've been working on in last year. I'm excited to get it out. I have not found labels for all of them, but I'm confident that I will. And if I won't, I've released also many stuff on my own label, which is also always cool to do. And I'm also excited to jump back in the studio with Johannes Albert again. Like we try to do at least one track a year, or like one EP a year. But it's always nice. Actually, I'm also joining him already on his album, which comes on Permanent Vacation.
Very cool.
And we have already another collab for that ready. So it's nice to work with him.
Looking forward to hearing all this. Yeah. And the two tracks that you really want to release, I want to hear them too, like at some point.
Yeah.
The ones that you are.
Yeah, I will send you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Amazing.
For sure.
Closing tradition from HoS Sound. What's a question that we should ask the next guest without knowing who they're going to be?
Clap or snare?
Clap or snare? Okay.
Clap or snare.
Love it. There is a question for you. How do you feel now about your first track?
Still very good, actually. I mean, where I came from before, I made so many shitty music before I was releasing music, because I started in these early days, there was no internet, so the music, the quality was very shitty, I would say, compared to now. And when I got to this point, I think my first release was in 2006 or 2007. And if I still listen to it, it's not that bad. I'm still happy that with what I put out at that moment. Yeah.
You still feel like good about it?
Yeah, I'm still happy with it. I mean, it's 2007, so that's like almost 20 years ago, or 18 years ago.
Wow, crazy. So, time flies, yeah.
So it's kind of like a different time, but I would still show that to somebody and not be shamed. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Joris, it has been a pleasure to get to know you better.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Pleasure. Thank you for doing this.
Cool. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, man. Ciao, ciao.